Public meeting of the Lowell Zoning Board of 2012. Tonight we have two continuances before us. One continuance and one order of business under new business. Before we start, I just want to remind everybody, if you plan on speaking either for or against a petition, that you please sign in at the podium with your name and address before addressing the board. Our first matter before us is under continuances. This is ZB 2011-50. Petition is a special permit, telecommunications. The applicant is Sprint PCS. Property located at 40 Princeton Boulevard, and the petition is to replace 6 existing antennas with 6 new antennas, add 9 radio heads, and replace equipment cabinets in the building's basement with new, pursuant to section 7.6 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Eric
Yeah.
Callio,
Eric.
as agent for Sprint. And
Right.
I was before the board on November 28th to present the application for Sprint at the 40T Princeton Boulevard site. And since we met last time, the board had asked for a legal opinion on the lease between Sprint and the church, and I did submit to them the lease that we have in force with them, and the city solicitor's office had come back with an opinion, and the summary of that opinion is that the city solicitor did not find anything that showed us that we were outside of our lease rights. In addition to that, Sprint, as I had mentioned last time, had a lease with Unison, and the church had signed a lease with Unison back in 2004 to accept a lump sum payment for, Sprint to have its equipment there, and that they're not entitled to any more revenue. Now, I have, and I forwarded this to the zoning office this afternoon, a letter of authorization from GTP, whom now manages that steeple site, giving us authorization to apply for our permits. In addition, GTP has overnighted a letter to the landlord as well as the church. And does the board have a copy of that? I know I did forward that earlier.
No.
Okay. I have one copy here, and I have a couple others I can pass around. This one? Yeah. That one. Okay. May I come up?
Sure. Okay, can I ask you a question before you?
Sir.
It's okay. Oh, why don't you go to the podium?
Okay.
Yeah. Did you say this particular notifications be given to the church?
They will be getting it via overnight delivery tomorrow. I do have an extra copy with me that I can give to one of the board members before we leave
Well,
tonight.
that's, if you want to give it to them, that's fine, but
Okay.
I'm just asking, prior to the meeting, they had not received anything. They're
They're
receiving
not, because I
it.
literally just got it this afternoon, but I'm sorry it took me that long to get it, but that's, I did want to at least bring it to the meeting.
Oh, okay. So what you've submitted tonight to us, are these two separate,
The letter of authorization basically allows Sprint on GTP's behalf to apply for its permits. Basically, they're showing on that letter of authorization that we have a lease right, and with that lease right that, we can be on that property and apply for our permits. And then the other letter that was addressed to Mr. James Coloris of the St. George Greek Orthodox Church. And this was something that one of GTP's attorneys had drafted that, in essence, summarizes what, our lease right is. But the bottom of the first page is that Unison nor CTLA does not owe the church any rent. And per the lease, Sprint does have the right to apply for, and obtain its zoning approvals. And one of the things that GTP, when they get the letter, is going to be asking the church should do is to withdraw its letter of opposition to the board, because that, in essence, is a violation of the lease, and that, again, Sprint does have its right to apply to its board to modify its equipment at the site.
Okay, so since this is a new submission in regards to this application, I again are going to defer to counsel for the city of Lowell that they review these documents.
Okay.
Also, so the members of the church have time to do that also.
Okay.
Because this is new, obviously you're just
Right,
submitting
right.
it tonight. And since we as a board had asked for an opinion previous to, it would have been nice to have this at the same time. So
Okay.
we're going to have to ask for continuance for that.
Okay.
The other issue I'm going to bring up is in regards to signage. Since one of the things that came across is, according to section 6.3 under signage, your organization, Sprint, had never posted, because it's a special permit, had never posted the signage, proper signage on the site, which is a requirement. And so with that, I'm going to ask also that this matter be continued in regards to both the legal opinion here, and then also if you want to talk to DPD about, and I'm not sure if you understand around the signage what needs to be done, but that's another matter that definitely has to be posted for the public 14 days prior to at least the next public meeting. So that's two continuances, or two reasons for my continuance. So what I would like to do at this point is, the next time we meet is on, not the next time we meet, but for this to come up again, correct me if I'm wrong, would be March 12th. Would that be the next? And/or if we went to March 26th. Now, today being the 13th, and asking for a legal opinion from our city law department, is a month enough time, or should we? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That'd be fine.
Okay, so March 12th.
So March 12th is the continuance date that this board is looking for, based on those two factors. And I am not going to entertain anything else tonight.
Okay.
I don't think it's reasonable, and I think all the parties that are involved, will be able to speak on March 12th, so,
Okay.
all right? Any, Mr. Clerk, can I get a roll call for a continuance to March 12th?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to continue petition 2011-00050, petition on 40 Princeton Boulevard, to March 12th, 2012.
I have a second?
Second motion.
I have a roll call?
Mr. Bailey?
Continue to March 12th.
Mr. Belanger?
Continue till March 12th.
Mr. Ahern?
Continue to March 12th.
Mr. McCarthy?
Continue to March 12th.
So
Mr.
the-
Perrin?
Sorry.
Continue March 12th.
So the next meeting on this matter will be continued to March 12th for all the parties, and there will be no public notification, so please be here on March 12th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pardon me,
Sorry.
Chairman, I just would like that, or like to bring to your attention that the request for continuation form should be signed by the applicant.
Okay, yep, sir, if you could sign that, please. Okay, our next order of business is under new business. This is ZB 2011-54. The petition is a variance. The applicant is Flood Law Office. The property is located at 155 Westford Street. And the petition is to construct a single-family home without the required lot size. pursuant to sections 5.1 of the zoning ordinance. Mr. Flood.
What I've delivered, well, for the record, James Flood, 549 Roger Street, Lowell, representing Bunsung Shun, who is the prospective purchaser of the property at 155 Westford Street. What I've submitted was a copy of a 1936 atlas showing the lot, new elevations of the building, a special permit that was issued by the Board of Appeals for this site back in 1984, and a new site plan. We're before you tonight to request a variance to construct a single-family home on an undersized lot. I also asked a waiver of the plan requirements under section 11.24 for submittal. I had sent a letter to the board before. And based on the new plan that we're submitting tonight, I'm asking for an additional variance for a lack of usable open space. The property at 155 Westford Street is zoned TMF and consists of approximately 4,338 square feet, which is about 162 feet short of the required 4,500 square feet. The lot has had a building located on it prior to the turn of the century, and that's why I submitted that 1936 atlas to show you that what was there then. And according to the records at the City of Lowell Assessor's Office, it's been used as a duplex and a three-family home for many years. In 1984, they came in and legally obtained a special permit to change what he said in the filing for illegal three-family into a three-family. So from 1984 up until 2008, when the property burnt down, it was used as a three-family. It was a building. I did receive an email from Taya Dixon, who's the chairperson for the Lower Highlands Neighborhood Group, and asked me to make a few changes to the original plan. And Mr. Chun is sensitive to the neighborhood and wants to cooperate as best he can. She had asked that we change the location of the garage from the original filing from the Westford Street side to the Nickel Street side, which we did. And she wanted us to try to move the building closer to Westford Street and to Nickel Street if possible. And what we did is we did move it 2 feet closer to Westford Street based from the original plan and a little closer to Nickel Street. According to our engineer, the house next door on Westford Street is a little more than 11 feet from the street. So we tried to conform with Westford Street as close as possible. We didn't want to get too close because of the traffic, but we're at 13.5 feet. And then we moved the other in 13.5 feet, and we relocated the garage because when if we had the garage on that side, the setback for a garage is 24 feet. So we moved it to the portion of the building facing the other homes at Nickel Street, and now it conforms. But with the large driveway, we do not have the necessary usable open space. And we reduced the curb cut down to 13 feet. So as you can see from the plans, it's an odd-shaped lot, and if you look at the atlas, it's different from the others in the neighborhood. This is more like a pie-shaped lot, and the others are all square. So there is a hardship pertaining to the shape of the lot. It has been used as a residential property for many, many years, and that's what we want to do now, and we want to conform to zoning as best we can. But it is a small lot, and it's a tough lot to build on. So we're here tonight, and we urge that you approve these requests. Answer any questions.
So when you reference it's a pie shape, and you also, with your documents you submitted this evening, it seems to be on the Westford Street side, it's a wider.
Wider, and then it goes in. Yeah,
Yeah. So based on the size, based on the size of the home you're putting on the lot, and with the garage, two-stall garage you're adding, you're telling us that that's affecting the open space, correct?
It is, yeah, with the driveway, right.
Right.
at the bottom.
And the driveway seems to be designed, it looks like it's curvature, but it also looks like you must have a backup feature if they wanted to back up, and then as they're leaving the property.
Plus, if they wanted to put another car out there, there would be
Yeah.
more room to it, but
So
that
what's,
takes
what-
up most of that backyard there.
what's the plan for the usable space that's left? How much usable space are we talking about?
What's left? I mean, I don't have the square footage, Bill, but, I mean, I think you've got the front lawn, you know, he's gonna landscape it, and
Okay. He's not gonna have much of a lawn around the whole home.
there's not much room
correct?
there. Not much room there.
So it's a single-family home that's
Right.
taking up most of that lot, just based on the actual size of the home.
Right, but I think it's less than what was there before, if you look at
Yep.
the atlas, it's smaller than what was there before.
Well, I mean, the open space, I think this board has looked at open space, and I know we have a requirement on the open space that's, you know, it's important. I'm just trying to understand, putting a single-family home, brand-new structure, I'm sure it's gonna look great on that corner lot, but again, I look at the size of the home that's being put on there, and that's why there's no usable open space. It's minimal at best.
Well, it's a three-bedroom home.
Yep.
It's, I mean, there's open space, but it doesn't meet the definition of usable open space.
Okay. Now, in regards to DPD, it also had some comments. I'm not sure if you hit on all the comments. Was there anything in particular that was asked for that you've addressed since DPD did their review on the letter we received on February 3rd?
Well, we changed the location of the garage, so the elevation of the side of the building is different.
Yep.
We have the 4 windows on the side of the garage that's facing Nickel Street. I did speak with Mr. Jenowitz regarding the design of the building. We did make a slight change on, a little more design on the front door. But to do what was done on Harvard Street, it was just too expensive in that neighborhood, so.
Yep. What about the curb cut?
We reduced it to 13 feet,
13?
yeah.
Okay.
I think it's on the new plan.
And that's
13 feet.
reflected? Okay.
Yep.
So you went from 18 to 13, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like we have 12, Mr. Fleck.
12 feet, I'm sorry, 12 feet, yeah.
Okay, so you actually reduced it by 6 feet from the
Yep.
original plan. Okay. Okay. And the comment you made about the neighborhood organization asking about siting of the home, is that reflected in what you gave us tonight about?
Yes, and she's
changes.
she's here tonight anyway, so.
Okay. Okay. All right. I don't have anything at this point. I'm going to open it up to the public first, and then we'll move to the board. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
My name is Taya Dixon-Mullane. I'm the president of the Lower Highlands Neighborhood Group. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to speak in support of the project and to request that you support the project as well. The history of this lot is that it was a multifamily property for many, many years. It burned and then sat vacant and dilapidated for close to a year until it came before the city council, and former councilor Bud Caulfield brought in a motion to make sure that this property, the former property on the lot, was demolished, which it was by the city about 3 years ago. I forgot how long that building's been there.
2008.
It's been a number of years. So since that time, the lot has basically stood vacant. It's full of garbage. It's overgrown. It was used for a construction project staging site. It's not something positive for the neighborhood in its current condition. We did appreciate the opportunity for the applicant to allow us the opportunity to comment, and I think our comments were addressed. And we're very happy to see, a project of this scale. I think it's a good sort of intermediate property between the multifamily next door on Westford Street and the smaller scale single-family properties that are on Nichols. So it does sort of bridge and step down the larger construction towards those smaller properties. So I think it's a good good property. It seems to be consistent with the character of the neighborhood, and we'd recommend your support. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Going to open up to the board. Dennis.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask a couple of questions here, but I agree. I think this is a great addition to the city. I think that this lot does need a structure on it to continue the corner, the architecture of that block, and I think the scale of the house makes a lot of sense. The structure itself, I'm just trying to understand how this fits in with hardship and how you are. I don't know if I've seen the narrative that you provided.
There was no narrative in the application, but the shape of the house, the shape and the size of the lot, the only thing we can use it for, it's always been a single-family home. I mean, I think it might even be a grandfathered piece of property because it's been that way since 1901 when that lot was established. But without being able to build the house, then they're going to suffer hardship. What can they use the lot for? And it's because of the size and the shape of that lot.
Okay, thank you. I think that the scale of the house, again, is smaller than what was previously there, so the idea of approving this and relaxing the 500 square feet open space, even though the pavement is open, it's not classified as the open space. However, if that was maybe an impervious or pervious pavers or pervious asphalt, that would at least address the idea of having more pervious surface in the space. I don't know if anyone would be interested in pursuing pervious asphalt or pervious concrete as the paving material.
Well, I can ask him. He probably doesn't understand what it is, but it's asphalt with the water we drink into it. It's not hard pavement. Might be a little more expensive. We have no idea what the cost would be. I mean, he'd be willing to consider it, but we don't know what the cost would be on that. And I don't even know whether that would qualify for the usable open space
You're
anyways.
absolutely right, it wouldn't. But I think that it would help with recharging the ground surface, and it would begin to address, I think, the open space issue, even though it wouldn't be qualifying, but it would be providing a intermediate step.
Well, I'm sure that the city engineer, we're gonna have to go for a driveway permit anyways, we'll look into that issue, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Kevin.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm in support of this project as a whole. I think it's a great use of a small, awkward piece of property that currently is going to be used as garbage dumping and a parking lot, for lack of a better term. I'm glad to hear that the Highlands Association is in favor of it. I do concur with my colleague that if they can look into some type of less or more impervious surface there for the driveway, not as a condition, but just as a point of all things being equal, if that's an open opportunity, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
We will do that. He will do that.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Gary.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I also want to thank the neighborhood group for working with the petitioner and making these adjustments to this lot that would continue to be an eyesore to the city and an empty lot, and bringing it forward and making it a buildable, taxable space is very important to the city. I know that there's not a lot of open space and green space, but in the handout A1 tonight, it does show some form of shrubbery. You're going to do some shrubbery in the small areas in which you can. I noticed there's,
Yeah, he'll do
in the
that, sure.
rendition, I'm just not holding it as a condition, but he's very limited in space. So just looking at the rendition tonight does show that. Obviously, the driveway is, it is what it is with the setback of the garage. I appreciate the reduction in the curb cut, which is a good way to mediate the approval of this, and that's all I have. I understand the waiver and the requirements under 11.2, so I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Corey?
Yes, to you, Mr. Chairman. I'm in agreement with my fellow board members. I think it's a great plan, I really do. I drive by this lot near daily, and it's overgrown, and it's a dumping ground. And the best point of all is that it was formerly, what, a 2 or 3 family at one time?
Your family.
That wasn't occupied, owner-occupied. This is going to be a single family. I would assume owner-occupied, Mr. Flood?
Yeah, you're gonna, yes, it'll be sold, it'll be.
Excellent,
right.
excellent. I think that's a big improvement itself right there. And that's stated by Taya from the neighborhood group, and I want to thank her for her involvement in this. And your client certainly did everything to cooperate with the neighborhood group and the city, so I commend him for that, and that always goes a long way with me, I can tell you that. So, but as it stands now, does he have intentions on paving the driveway now, Mr. Flood, or?
Yeah, it'll be paved. right.
Okay, excellent. That will look good. I mean, open space is, always important to me, but, in this location, they're all undersized lots. You don't see much open space at all, on the whole street for that matter, or the neighborhood, and we can't expect much from him, so.
There's open space, but it's not usable open space in accordance with the definition under the zoning. It's gotta be like a 15-foot block, 5 feet from the line, so it's tough to meet in that site.
It is, I understand that, so I'm going to cooperate with them, and, parking's just as important, if not more, in this location, being the corner lot. We don't want vehicles in the corner there. That would render far more a threat to the neighborhood than some open space, that
It's
much
a,
I'd
and
like
it's
to
a
see
busy
it.
spot, too.
It is, very, very so. I'm willing to sacrifice that regard for some off-street parking in this case, most certainly, so. I do support it, I think it's a great project, and I wish your client the best. Thank you.
Okay, a couple of things. Was there a reason why there was no narrative submitted, Mr. Flood?
Well, I didn't know that was a requirement, Mr. Bailey. I know it is for the planning board, but I didn't know it was for the Board of Appeals.
Well, I think narratives have been,
I have never done it, Mr. Bailey, and I've been
Okay.
doing this for
all right.
many years. I
Well-
don't think it's in your application that says attach a narrative.
Okay, well, I want DPD to, I guess, review that because, that was part of their comments to me around the narrative, and I know one of the other board members asked about that. And specifically, they asked for a narrative around the three variances at the time we were looking
It's
at.
always something I've always handled at the hearing, but I can do it from now on,
Okay.
Mr. Bailey, now that I know. Now that I know.
Guess I'm giving you a heads up, right? No, I just wanted to speak to it because I've gone through this before with applicants about the narratives and elements for the site plan requirements, and I just want to make sure the petitioners are, applying correctly, so we don't have to sit here and ask the questions afterwards.
I mean, there are certain things that in the planning board that we address in the narrative, and it's listed right in the application.
Okay.
But I think if you want to address the 3 issues, or the 3 grounds for the variance, that can be done, yeah.
Yep. Okay, I'm not sure if I heard it, but when we were talking about the front door, is the front door on Westford Street?
Front door is on Nickel Street.
Okay, so one of the recommendations that DPD had was to put the front door on Westford Street. What is the reason not to have it on Westford Street?
Because of the traffic on the street, and they'd rather have it on Nickel Street where it's a quieter street. And that's the way the house is designed.
But I believe there were comments made by DPD
Yeah, there
to
were
you,
comments
correct?
made by DPD, Mr. Bailey, but I don't think, he doesn't
So
want to do that.
when you say there's traffic, obviously, we know there's traffic on Westford Street, but what does that have to do with the front door, just so I can ask?
Well, noise, the living room, noise. I mean, I don't, his preference was to have it on Nickel Street.
Okay. I have a question for DPD regarding you're asking for a variance for the open space, correct?
Right.
How do we handle the variance for the open space? Does it have to be, there's no reapplication for that, or is there?
Well, there's no one answer to that question. Typically, if
why I
there
asked
are if there are variances of a similar type that are being requested, there isn't a need to provide notice for that additional variance. But, you know, this one is, you're talking about a lot area, then you're talking about usable open spaces. They're different performance standards. Whereas
Similar.
also this evening, the board is made aware of this and of this request, additional request for a variance. So honestly, you know, whether or not the board could act on that second one this evening, I'm not prepared to give you a straight answer on that. I think that this is something we would need to review a little bit.
Okay,
It may not need notification, but it's, you know, it's starting to get.
so do we end up having a condition around that or not, or is that,
But you wouldn't necessarily need a condition, they just need to
Right.
submit another application.
all right, so we don't have to condition that he might need a separate application for the variance for the open space?
I would recommend, if I may, continuing the request.
Continuing the request of
Variance
the
request, yes, because an additional
application?
variance request is being added tonight.
Okay. All right,
I didn't hear what he said.
okay. Mr. Flood
I-
didn't hear what you
I
said.
said I would recommend continuing the variance request tonight, instead of making a decision and then requiring the applicant apply for a second time. It may not require additional notification, I'm not 100% sure.
It's very similar to the undersized lot, and it came about as a result of moving the garage to satisfy the neighbors. I think everyone got notice of the hearing anyways. There's nobody here. I don't think there's any objection on the neighborhood association. I would think it would be covered.
Okay, well, let's continue. Again, to DPD, in regards to what was submitted tonight by the applicant with the new renditions and the comments we received on the site plan and building design, is there any issues that DPD has with the new submittal, the plans we received this evening?
I think
comments,
generally speaking, there are some nice changes and some improvements to the site layout. And it sounds like it definitely addresses the concerns of the neighborhood group at least. There's a couple things though, noting that I've noticed just in this meeting, looking over them quickly. One of them, the way the driveway has been laid out, it's kind of unclear whether or not that really works for cars in terms of pulling in and exiting the site. A car needs space in this kind of layout to be able to back out and then pull out forward into the street. Otherwise, from this case, it looks like we'd actually have to pull all the way out onto Nickel Street, going backwards, which would be an unsafe situation. So I would recommend, you know, some more time to look at that and make sure that that's laid out in such a way that the car can access and egress the site safely. And then,
Aaron, excuse me, are you talking about if they're in the garage and they're leaving, or are you talking about going into the property?
going in's fine, they can pull in easily into that, but if the property owner is going to use the garage, backing out
Okay,
of
so-
the garage back into the street,
I
their
think what
turning radius
Yeah.
isn't quite there for the car to actually pull out.
Okay.
It's possible for them back out to that back corner and make the
Right.
turn, but it's,
can't find the thing now. But I thought what I mentioned to Mr. Flood was when I looked at the, proposed driveway, I had asked the question instead of coming in, it looked like for somebody coming out of the garage, backing out, it looks like they would back up towards their neighbor down Nickel Street and then loop around out. I mean, am I not looking at that?
no, you're right, I think that's the intent. I'm not sure that there's enough space to
Oh,
make that turn in
Radius,
this
all
case.
right, okay,
All I can say, that was done by our engineer. I didn't do it, and I would assume he
okay.
would have sufficient. No?
It may be, I'm just looking at it saying it could be a challenge.
Yeah, all right.
And if it's not simple, the car's gonna back out instead of
Okay.
trying to make that turn.
So if we end up continuing this, is that something else you can at least
Yeah, we can certainly
take a
look at that.
review of and be in contact with Mr. Flood if there's
Absolutely.
some concerns with the radius? Okay.
The other issue, just looking at the building elevations, if you look at the proposed left elevation, it's a different, the building elevation has different layout than on the proposed front elevation over the garage, which is fine. I think it should be addressed in the plan so that they're, so they make sense. So if you look at the left elevation, there's living space, the master bedroom is above the garage, and there's, in a sense, I guess a dormer coming out to provide that space. But if you look at the proposed front elevation, that doesn't match.
Could you show me what,
Does that have to be with the front or on the side? It's one thing I'm not crazy about. There has to be numbers on the front, right? The addresses.
DPD gave us pictures.
Okay, I do have that. Okay.
Look the same as the neighborhood and everything else.
Okay.
Plan, Brandon, this thing.
I see what he's saying now. But that's, we changed the garage. The garage was gonna be there before.
So,
We didn't change that portion.
okay.
Those are the only two things that I
Yeah.
can really see right here. And just to be clear, the first issue with the driveway may not be an issue, but I'm looking at it and it looks like it could be a challenging area of space, or a challenging space for a car to actually pull out as it's supposed to. I think everybody's looking at it and understand how it's supposed to work, whether or not the area there is actually there for someone to be able to use that space safely and effectively. The other issue is just making sure that the plans correspond with each other. I think those should be updated for the board to review and approve.
Okay. Yeah, at the end of the day, Mr. Flood, obviously, what's there today and what we're gonna what's there today and what we're gonna put there is gonna be a tremendous improvement. And I just wanna make sure, there was a lot of comments in regards to the plans that were submitted once, if not twice, and I just wanna make sure we're
was 3
covering
times.
everything. And, does anybody else have any other comments before yeah, Dennis?
If we wanted to make a condition for that driveway curb cut, if we slid that curb cut to the southerly direction by approximately 6 feet, you'd be able to accommodate a car backing into that backing out spot and be able to make that turn, so it could be handled if we wanted to make a condition for that. Thank you.
Well, if I understand correctly, I think we're gonna end up moving this for a continuance, and then, based on DPD's review of the driveway, if we need to talk about conditions.
It-
Yep,
Dennis, you're saying move it down towards 34 Nickel Street further?
If we slide the access point, the curb cut towards Westford Street by approximately 6 feet,
Northerly?
towards Westford Street would be southerly.
Oh, it's towards Westford Street? You want
Correct.
towards Westford Street?
That would give you room to back into the northern portion of that paved surface and drive out, assuming you're parking in the garage.
Okay.
okay. Okay, Mr. Flood, anything else you wanna add for this evening? Okay, does anybody else have anything they wanna add? So I guess based on everything that's been talked to tonight, and in regards to the open space variance potential, I'm going to move that we continue this to our next meeting. Can we have it on the next meeting? Before I?
Right now, we have there's no other agenda items scheduled for that meeting and a training session, 2-hour training session, so we could continue with that, but that might be a long meeting.
This is for February 27th?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just assume put it on for the, are you okay with the 27th, or do you want to go for the meeting after that?
Well, I want to get it done as soon as
Yeah.
possible.
Okay, all right. So I would move that we continue this to February 27th. Mr. Clerk?
What would you like me to do about that request for the variance? I mean, I gave him a check to pay for it, so it's all paid for, so.
Okay. So I'll move to DPD.
I mean, we can review it with the solicitor's office to make sure that this is the type of variance that would not need an additional notification. If it does require an additional notification, though, the 27th would not provide the 14 days needed for that.
Okay.
It would probably be also valuable to actually have a formal request, you know, something in a letter or something, rather than just verbally requesting a variance for the record.
I think it's on the record. I made the request tonight. I mean, I think your
And
minutes would,
submission, I don't know, I haven't had a chance to read the submission tonight, so I have no idea if we got it. But something more formal would be recommended.
Something more formal from the applicant?
Yes.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so with that said, does the applicant, do we still have time for the applicant to make his submission, and we still meet on the next meeting of the 27th?
I'll get him a letter tomorrow.
If notification's not required, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't think it would be because they've already got notice and it's a very similar variance because of the size of the lot, so. But I will get him a letter tomorrow. And if there's a problem, he'll let me know, we'll just continue it.
No, I just want to make sure that if Mr. Flood's going to submit something, we don't run into anything about notification dates or prior to,
That makes sense.
okay.
It would make a decision, it wouldn't put the decision on strong grounds, let's put it that way.
So we're all set for the 27th?
At this point, yes.
Yes, okay. All right, Mr. Flood. You have any other questions, Mr. Flood? Okay. All right, so can I have a motion?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to continue ZBA 2001-54 for a variance at 155 Westwood Street to our next meeting on February 27, 2012.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Continue to February 27th.
Mr. Belanger?
Continue.
Mr. Ahern?
Continue to February 27th.
Mr. McCarthy?
Continue to February 27th?
Mr. Perrin?
Continue to February 27th.
Okay, Mr. Flood, we're going to continue February 27th, and there will be no further notification, public notification.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flood. So we have no other business. Anybody on the board have anything they want to bring up before we adjourn? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I have a second.
I'll second it.
Good evening.